Hello and welcome to the Pup Mommy. This is a channel where I share my practical hands-on experience in everything that I've learned, including my mistakes, in owning, loving, and caring for dogs for over 30 years. In this particular video, I'm going to be talking about adopting a dog. But should you adopt a puppy or should you adopt an adult dog? Well, that ultimate decision is yours, but I would like for this video to at least help you know what you're getting into ahead of time before you get into it. So I'm not here to discourage you from adopting, and I'm not here to encourage you from adopting. Only you can decide if you're really ready for a dog. Now, in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and keep it as short as I possibly can. I'm going to be touching on the cost of ownership for a puppy, for an adult dog, involving training, involving health care, and including the cost of the dog itself. Now, next Thursday, June 6th, 2024, I am going to be doing a live stream webinar on exactly this same topic. It's going to be at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And I'm going to be going more in depth into the adopting of a puppy or versus adopting a dog. If you would like to participate, it is totally free. It is complimentary. I have a link in the description section along with other resources available that are also complimentary and free. So if you'd like to reserve your seat, I'd be more than happy to have you join me. I am going to be streaming across multiple platforms, and with my present streaming service and budget, I'm limited to about 250 people. So if you don't want to miss it, please feel free to register. So now let's really kind of get into it. First of all, what I want to do is I want to define a puppy and an adult dog. In my lexicon, an adult dog is 3 years and over. All right. Puppies are usually 8 weeks to all the way up to, sometimes depending on the breed, 2 years, because a lot of breeds do not necessarily become full-fledged adults until they're around that 3-year of age level. That gap between the 2-year and the 3-year is what I call the teenage years, the adolescent years. And having had dogs for close to 30 years, I'm raising puppies to seniors. I have been through that adolescent stage, and just like teenagers, these dogs can make you crazy. But anyway, that's my definition of the puppy versus the adult dog. Now, when it comes to cost of ownership, your major cost, of course, is going to be the cost of the dog. All right, you have the puppies. With puppies, most people go to breeders. Always keep in mind that not all breeders are created equal. All right. And the same thing with rescues, the same thing with shelters. Rescues and shelters occasionally, depending on the rescue, depending on the shelter, will have puppies available. Rescues usually have a sliding scale that puppies are most expensive, then there's adult dogs, and then there's senior dogs. Shelters, sometimes the price is the price. And occasionally a shelter may have a sliding scale as well. With the breeder, the price is the price. It is non-negotiable. With breeders, you have to know what you're doing. You really have to know what you're doing. I'm going to give you a real case in point here very quickly. My neighbors next door, lovely couple, 60s, retired, bought their first dog 18 months ago. They got a golden doodle. All right. Over Memorial Day weekend, I happened to see the missus in the backyard. Band-Aid, cut, black eye, bruises all on her arms and her face. I didn't ask questions, I didn't pry, but I kind of go, It turns out that about a day ago, I met the husband walking the dog, and he told me what happened. The dog jerked the leash, and the wife face planted into the ground. Thank God it wasn't the sidewalk. She could have really been seriously injured. In being neighbors for 23 years, I asked Andre, what possessed you to get a golden doodle?
Well, the breeder told me that it's a mini.
Andre, I think we both know that a 70-pound dog is not a mini golden doodle. You have to know what you're doing. And in a way, being a self-promoter here, this is where I come in, because I've gone with the breeder route many, many times. I know what to look for. I know what to ask, the questions to ask. So again, please, please, please know what you're doing when you go to a breeder. You know, I've seen people spend thousands of dollars. They got an AKC registration page and they've got a pedigree in the other hand, but their dog is not breed standard. Don't get burnt. You can get burnt not only with breeders, you can get burnt with rescues, and you can get burnt with shelters. Been down all those roads. Now, let's move forward so this video doesn't become like an hour long. The cost of ownership in terms of puppies and dogs when you're actually getting your home ready and when you're bringing them home. First thing I will say is, whether you get a puppy, whether you get an adult dog, when you bring your dog home, you go to the vet within 24 hours. Even though you're going to get health certifications, you're going to get health clearance of health documentation and all the rest of that, you still need to know what you are dealing with. Sometimes mistakes are made. Sometimes things are missed. So it's always good for you to go to the vet immediately and, you know, so that you know, again, what you're dealing with or not dealing with. Now, with puppies and dogs, puppies are four-legged babies, dogs are four-legged children. As you would baby-proof, child-proof your home, you're going to do that with a dog and a puppy. The puppies are notorious to get into everything. Like babies, everything goes into their mouths. So if you've got anything lying around on the floor, whether it's children's toys, whether it's clothing articles, I mean, honest to God, put them away. Look at your cords, look at electrical cords. Same thing with dogs, same thing with puppies. You know, you don't want them getting into things and chewing them, and then all of a sudden you've got, issues. I'll give you another quick case in point. I adopted my Boston Terrier, Spunky, when he was about 10 years old, when he was 10 months old. I remember to this day, I was in the kitchen, I turn around and I'm seeing into the family room, and there is Spunky on top of the recliner. He's got his paws on the table and he's chewing the ribbon off my lampshade hem. 2 days later, Spunky was outside and he swallowed 2 polyvinyl tubes from a Chuck-a flying squirrel. You don't want this to happen to you. I ended up with a $3,000 gastrosurgery bill. Trust me, you don't want it to happen to you. Now, when it comes to also bringing your puppy home, your dog home with puppies, you are going to have additional vaccination costs. Please keep in mind never to take your puppies anywhere until they're fully vaccinated. You're going to have microchip costs. You're going to have spay-neuter costs. In terms of supplies, kind of with the puppies, you're going to have special little small, soft toys for them to chew. You're also, when it comes to dogs and puppies and, crates and food bowls and leashes, those things you can always buy for an adult size. You don't need, to necessarily to have a puppy size this and an adult size that. Certain things, yes. Like harnesses, collars, your dog is going to grow into them. So there's an extra expenditure there. Some of the other things that you may run into, you're going to need a crate. Obviously, you're going to need different things. You're going to need some medical supplies. You're going to need some Benadryl, canned pumpkin. But that's between the, I don't want to get into the weeds here again. I can feel myself getting into the weeds. The things for the puppy, things for the dog. They're basically there's a lot of synergies. There's things that are a lot the same. During the webinar, I'll go into more in depth as to maybe what some of these differences are. But again, I'm trying to keep this video moving and to keep it in short and length. Now, another key component of cost of ownership for a puppy and for an adult dog is training. All dogs should know 5 basic commands: sit, stay, down, come, leave it. All right, with little puppies and with adult dogs as well, they have attention spans of gnats. Okay, so usually when you're training, you train in increments and chunks of 15 minutes at various times of the day. With puppies, you're going to have housebreaking training, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you might not have housebreaking training with adult dogs as well. When adult dogs come into a new environment, there's always going to be stress and anxiety. You may have additional problems like vomiting and diarrhea, just as you might have with little puppies. But you may not necessarily have it to the extent that you might have with puppies. All right, with puppies, you're going to be, as I said, you're going to be doing housebreaking training, and it's also a good time to start teaching them sit, stay, with a little, treat of some sort. So you're going to have all of that involved with puppies. You're going to still need eyes 360 degrees around your head. But also with puppies, you're molding them at that young age. And that sometimes can be very beneficial because you're molding the behaviors that you want in the dog. Now, keep in mind that there is a difference between behavior and temperament. All right, behaviors of any kind you can always mold and you can always train away with the help of, let's say, a professional trainer, and you're training consistently. When it comes to temperament, that's genetics, that's DNA. That's something that cannot necessarily be trained away. So this, again, is where it's important to know something, especially if you're bringing a puppy from a breeder, you have got to know about that dog's temperament. And as dogs grow, you're going to see the behaviors develop. All right, so that's why training is very important with puppies. When you're bringing an adult dog home from a shelter, from a rescue, you basically have what you have. A lot of rescues put their dogs into foster homes, and a lot of the fosters, if they're really good fosters, they have experience with dogs, they can do some rehabilitation training, they see what behaviors need to be trained, they can teach dogs different things. Same thing with shelter dogs. You have what you have. You know what they know. You know what the rescue knows, and that's basically what you've got. Some breeds, I will say this, you can safely go to, let's say you have a local trainer that you like, Petco trainer, PetSmart trainer, but there are also breeds that when you think about Doberman, you think about Cane Corso, you think about a German Shepherd, you think about Giant Schnauzer. Some breeds need professional trainers that are experienced in those breeds and have years of experience in those breeds. Because when you think about it, with adult dogs, if they're not trained properly and it injures somebody, the financial liability to you can really be crushing. And I've got a number of different incidents that I know of personally where people have really gotten burnt. So training is very, very important. And it's also, depending on the trainer that you go to, obviously group classes are less expensive. And when you're starting with puppies, that expensive training is a little less than when you're actually working with adult dogs. And specifically, too, when you've got behaviors and you have to find a trainer that knows how to train those specific behaviors, especially the ones that you don't want. Outside of that, in terms of cost of ownership, again, your first year is going to be your most expensive because you're going to have setup costs. You may want to include insurance. The insurance premiums are going to be less expensive for puppies than they are for adult dogs. Also keep in mind that when you are bringing home puppies, this is why it's important to know what breed that you're bringing home as well. I'm not going to get into what breed you should buy or go and get or whatever, but that little fluff ball of fur is going to grow very quickly. And sometimes I've seen it with many people where you've got, the little fluff ball is, 8 pounds, and then all of a sudden 6 months later it's 40 pounds, not what they were expecting. So this is why whether you adopt a puppy or you adopt a dog, it is so incredibly important that you know what you're getting into, that you do your research, or that you use somebody like me to help you find the right dog for your personality and your lifestyle. Shelters are full of owners' mistakes, and I don't want you or your dog to be a statistic. So I'm going to close it there and say again, I am going to go much deeper into and delving into adopting a puppy versus adopting a dog, covering not only some of the topics I spoke about, but other topics as well in the upcoming webinar, again next Thursday, June 6th, 2024 D-Day, which I hope won't be my D-Day. And again, all the links are in the description. I really thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this informational. I will be having other videos available on best dogs for first-time owners, and also best dogs for this, best dogs for that, and other breed videos that I hope you'll find informative. I really thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to click and subscribe. All comments are welcome. And with that, I'll say bye for now.